Imogen. I've been with Vanguard for about a year and a half, but I do have over 2 decades. I know you can't tell, but I've been around security for almost 3 decades. I'm here today to help you understand some of the problems that we have within the security when you are providing help desk services within your company. What are the risks? What are the ways to use technology to help you overcome those risks? And then after that, we're going to do some recommendations on best practices, as well as a full demonstration of our technology. So now that we got you all relaxed, we're going to go start with what is within the environment of a cyber threats around the help desk use. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the risk factors, right? Hackers used to do things for fun. Now they're called bad actors, because hackers now have the good ones and you have the bad ones. You have the blue team, you have the red team. So we can't use the word hacker anymore. It doesn't apply because they could be good hackers. So the bad actors is what we call them. They have a target. They really know what they're looking for. And so they do a lot of research, and sometimes they use technology to do research. But the reality is those target accounts into corporate IT networks is because they know that if they can get in, they can expand and they can get all the information they want, and they have all the time in the world to do it. So they don't need to worry about, because very few get actually discovered in a meaningful time frame. So the objective of the hacker is to get over the wall. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with the basic security principles of firewalls and network switches and all that. So everybody has told us, if you build a firewall and you put your antivirus and you protect your perimeter, you are all set. You know, you're going to be fine, you're protected. Then you can't do business with anybody else in the world because you are stuck inside of a wall, right? So then you start opening that wall. You give a VPN access, you give remote support, somebody to outside or somebody else, a partner or a provider or a vendor needs to come inside to help you. And they go, oh, I don't care what you do. I'm going to go in with my tool. Or give me a session, give me an RDP session, and things of that nature that create those vulnerabilities, right? So you spend all that money putting out those walls, and all of a sudden now there are many ways to come in, right? So you can't build a wall that is high enough. And they know that. So their goal is, what do I have to do to breach that perimeter? The last part is they use some tactics that are very, very elegant. You know, they're becoming more and more sophisticated. And they do that because there's a human factor to it. So we're going to talk about the vulnerabilities of the human factor as well. Because phishing works because people let it work, right? So there's a lot of education around that as well. So the first thing that the hackers are looking for in order to gain that access is actually called privileged accounts. So what are those privileged accounts? Well, first of all, they are the gold key that opens any door within your environment. So they are a super user, so they can access many systems. They can actually access application to application. So they have many uses, those super accounts. And they are built in everything. So used to be that only a few really important applications were within the environment. Now everything has a privileged account. Everything has some type of administrative account that communicates with another application, that communicates with the system. So all of them are built in. And also they are typically shared accounts, meaning you have how many administrators? Maybe you have like 4 or 5 administrators. Well, they're all sharing one administrator password to get into 100, 1,000, 5,000 systems, because what? It makes their life easier. So they trust themselves. So they say, hey, you know, I'm trustworthy. It's okay. But then that person leaves and the other 4 stay and you hire another one. Well, that password didn't change. That person who left with a copy of your gold key, right? So those are the problems of sharing a password, right? And why are they problematic? It's because they open every door. It's a problem. So you go to a hotel room and you have a key that opens every single, if you go to a hotel and you have a key that can open every single room, would you feel comfortable staying in that hotel? Probably not. You know, you don't want anybody walking on you. And obviously, because they're anonymous, you don't know who's going to have it. Who's using that key? Everybody uses it. How are you going to know who did what, right? So those are the main reasons why the hackers want it, but the bad actors want it. And the other one is the credentials, right? They are a key point of vulnerability because a credential, which is a associated password, we say, with something or an individual. And most of, 63%, confirm data breaches of the big ones that you hear about, because there's a lot of the ones that don't say anything, so they've been breached. They had either leverage a password that was easily discovered, or it was the standard. It was like the ones that come with the product. So you buy a router or you buy a Wi-Fi hotspot and you don't change that manufacturer password. It's like there are so many programs out there that you can download yourself and run and breach whatever it has the manufacturer's password still in it. So those are the other problems. The very, very known one is, especially because here in Argentina, for example, we've been to several customers with Penta, and every time we went somewhere, we both had to show our passports. They looked at us, they looked at the passport, they called somebody, made sure that we were supposed to be there, meeting with somebody, before they gave us our credential, right? And we couldn't go up the elevator on our own because unless we had that RFID, we couldn't actually get anywhere past that gate. So that is consciousness of security, right? Well, that doesn't really happen because once you're in the company, now you're like, okay, I'm in a company, now things are relaxed, I'm safe. So they write their password and they stick it right there on the computer because it's very long. It has to be like 16 characters now, so I'm never going to remember that password. So I'm going to write it down so it's easier. It's either under or on the monitor. You know, so a lot of times we still see that either they are on a little notebook or they're in a spreadsheet, or even worse is when they're on a sticky note. So that happens a lot, no matter where in the world, it still happens a lot. The other thing that, if you don't have a technology to help you, which is we're going to talk about the solutions, is that people use pretty much the same password over and over again. They maybe cycle through 3 passwords for everything that they have. So once you discover one, then you have your history of your browser. Guess what? You can go into a whole lot of other ones, right? And this is just on the user side. There's a whole lot of other images and kuberus and any administrative access passwords that get kind of like stored inside of your system that somebody that knows where to look, they can find it. So if they gain access and they're inside of your system, it's not very hard for them to figure out where your credentials and your passwords reside. And then they make themselves have elevated access and they take advantage of your network. So we talked about unknown threats and things of that nature, but employees, people are our biggest problem. We are the problem. And it's a journey. This is not something that I can say, hey, I got the bulletproof. There is no bulletproof solution, right? But it's a process that you need to understand that is going to take the most effort. It is the employee. The insider threat is the person that has the best intentions. They want to get their job done fast. They want to do their job well, but they really are not thinking about that what they do might have another consequence. For example, if they have privileged access and they download something they're not supposed to download, or they accept something they're not supposed to accept. Well, those credentials are going to be leveraged, right? So the human factor, they might have good intentions. They want to download an application that's going to make them work better, but they didn't vet it by the IT department. All those little things that the individual can bring in are things that you can't really stop them until you change culturally how they think. So education process, and there's some other remedies that we're going to show you here today. So like I was saying, like the well-intentioned ones are also, like they might not think about it, that if they share information with somebody else, that's a risk for the company. They literally think that they're doing the right thing, like unless you tell them they're not, right? So those are some of the factors, right? So the service desk has been used. The people in the service desk usually are junior people, right? You hire somebody in the help desk, they are learning about technology, they're learning about your company, they're learning about your product, and that's kind of their entry-level engineering position. So they have some know-how, they have a lot of curiosity, and they have access to the administrative password. And they get this access because they're trying to help somebody, and they have to have elevated access in order to fix things on somebody else's device. So there's a lot of tools out there that are cheap, or they're free, and they give you access. So help desk people use those tools to go into the systems of their customers, PC Anywhere, TeamViewer, and a bunch of other ones that are used by attackers to impersonate IT people and get access to your system. And then they're able to use the password that a help desk person has used. They leave a shadow image. They capture that shadow image. Now they know how to elevate themselves to administrative, and they jump. They leapfrog. They jump to another system once they're in, and they become, let's say they go to a server, and they use that administrative access to find out what the server administrative password is. So that's kind of just one way that that the help desk itself has been used to create an attack. So they are green. They are not very well trained because there's a huge rotation on help desk people. And the tools that they're using, sometimes they have to use 6, 7, 12, 15 different tools to do their jobs. And like they try to do as fast as they can because they get paid on closed tickets, right? They have to have a speed, so they do whatever shortcuts they can figure it out. They will download anything they have access to, so they can make their lives easier. So if it's to make a simple password, or if it's to copy and paste, or if it's to write it down on a sticky note, they will do that. Because even though their heart is in the right place, even though their heart is in the right place, they are a risk factor, and you really need to take care of that as well. So well-intentioned employees represent the same level of risk as malicious, disgruntled ones. So really, people. And I would go back to, you are as secure as your weakest link, right? And your people are going to be that. So because they have access to passwords, that is an infringement actually on some of the compliance considerations that you have to have. So what are your security policies? Do you have the right security policies, right? So those are the things that we're talking about. How technology can help you. How does the right policies can help you mitigate that high risk that are the help desk users? And do you really know the life cycle of your help desk engineers or the help desk people, right? Provisioning, deprovisioning, clean up, removal of their rights once they get promoted or once they change, because again, that's the entry level. So let's say they come in as an entry level as a help desk person, but then they move into, I don't know, sales. They don't need to have admin rights. A lot of times those admin passwords haven't changed, And they know because they've used it. And nobody changes them after they move to a different division. So now they have access to more knowledge, and they still have that administrative password. They are a very, very big risk. So we talk about credentials, and we talk about the users, and we talk about the risks, right? So what about the compliance that has nothing to do with your business? Obviously, you represent a company here today, or you represent an entity here today. Your objective is to be the best you can be for that company. What can we do, right? So the responsibility does fall on each one of us to make sure that we do certain things, but there's a lot of industry compliance that comes down on us, right? Like you have to do those things, because if the government doesn't demand, people are not going to spend money on it, because nobody really wants to buy security. They need security because somebody else told them they need it, or because they've been breached. And if you wait until you get breached, you spend a lot more money than protecting yourself with the right technology. So the risk, cost, benefit is something that only you can determine if it's worth it or not. But we are here to show you some of the ways. So, like I said, human factor, education, education, education. There are several ways that you can educate, test, punish. Because they need to be punished. In a good way, right? So you need to empower them to make the right choice. If they don't know what the right choice should be, then shame on you, not on them, right? So education is something that's never going to end. It's a journey. If you think there is an end to it, there is no end to it. Modify corporate password policy. We talked a little bit about the policy. Very important. You need to understand what you want. Then you have to break down what each department has to do in order to be where you want. It has to come from the top down. This is not something that the IT and security team can determine by themselves. So the policy ends up being, what you really need to do is, those passwords are important. I don't care how difficult they are to manage. You have to rotate them. You have to make them complex. And you have to make people use them without putting them in their little sticky notes. Not fun. Takes a long time, but it has to be done. Now, there are technologies that you can use that allow you to do that. And you can force it. You can push that on people with technology. But still, it goes back to, this is why we're doing it, right? You have to let them know why you're doing it. And then you have to integrate your remote support tool, your ITSM tool, with existing identity and access management. So you have usually 3 or 4 technologies that you integrate together, and each one is a layer that allows you to put everybody on the same playing field. You're doing the identity and access management, so you're looking at the credential as the identity, the access is how they're getting to places, and you integrate this remote support piece to those, right? That gives you the trifecta that allows you to reduce your risk to a manageable state. Are you bulletproof? No, right? Nothing is really 100% bulletproof. But we do help you buy time, for sure. And then lastly, utilize the password managers, right? Use credential injection. It's something that we're going to show you. This is probably one of the most important things we're going to show you today, is that removes a lot of the risk, is password management to a level that nobody sees the password. So it doesn't matter where you go. You can go to, the top of the company. CEO is not going to know what the administrative password is going to be. The administrator is not going to know what the password is. That's how you want it to be. That's the nirvana of identity and access management state. So, any questions about what we covered? So, I talked about what type of solutions and a little bit of what types of technologies that can help you, right? We talked about privilege access. We talked about securing that access from that help desk person to the system. And we talk about the credential. So I talk about a lot of stuff, but I only talked about all that because we can help you with that. So the way that BombGuard addresses those three pieces is that our remote support technology is a platform that stays within a DMZ, and that DMZ stays between two firewalls that allows us to create a secure connection that connects an individual to a technology. So BombGuard is very well known for connecting anyone to any given technology to provide a support call. It is reactive. It requires having a reason to go in there. We do have other technologies that are proactive, but what we are talking today here is eliminating the threat of the help desk person. So now this is, this person here is Superman in disguise. This is Clark Kent right here, right? He's Clark Kent. He's only a photographer. He's just doing whatever his work is. When he needs to be Superman, right, he's going to get that password, that credential, by pushing a button that is shown through the interface with BombGuard, that is going to put his password, not his password, Superman password, that administrative password, directly into the system that he needs to get power in order to fix the problem. And then as soon as that is done, that password gets checked right back into the system, the password vault, and then that password is no longer the same. It's rotated and is stored and is encrypted. So this guy can leave, he can be promoted, he can go anywhere. That password is no longer a problem. His access is based on the policy. So your policies is, this guy can give support to all of this environment, but he can't not really just hang around here in a different time unless he has the right to get in here. So provisioning, deprovisioning, the life cycle, the lifespan of this guy ends when his Active Directory group is removed. So we are integrated with LDAP and Active Directory immediately, so there is a direct connection there. We integrate with the ticketing system. So when the phone call comes in or when they push the button and need support, that connection is established between help desk. Anything that happens within that session is being recorded. So now you have a complete video session of a support call, so you know what they were doing. And everything that they do is actually stored not only on our appliance, but is also being stored on the ticketing system. So now that help desk guy that had to open 6, 7, 8 windows is working out of one window. And he can see exactly what that person sees. Everything is being recorded. There is chat that is right there as part of the session. Everything that happens on that session is captured. So now you have reporting, you have compliance. All your audits are already there. If you prefer in a different way, you can export all of that. So is there any questions about how to do an outbound, like how the technology works here, making an outbound connection? This is the safe way for us to create a tunnel. This tunnel is encrypted. It's nobody else can come in. And we can add multi-factor authentication to make sure that this guy here is who they say they are at the time of creating their first session, when they log into work. And every time they step away from their computer and they come back and we need to verify who they say they are. Does that make sense? ¿Preguntas? ¿Alguna cosa que pueda explicar en español? ¿No? ¿De nuevo en español? Dilo, por favor. So now I actually going to switch. It's your turn. And we're going to go through a simple demo of what it looks like to have create a session from a need and respond to a help desk call and injecting the password. Very simple, very easy. Our technology, the other beautiful part about why we've been successful with more than 13,000 customers, is that our technology goes in a couple of days, when most other technologies for security take months, if not years, to get fully deployed. because we've been around for 13 years, we integrate with pretty much anything that is out there. So we don't need to try. We know how to get into an environment and become part of it. And anything that goes into the SIM system or other systems is also information that can be consumed, and decisions can be made about how to react to them. So again, we go into an environment, we're not trying to suffocate anything, we're just trying to make it easier for them to accomplish their jobs. With remote support, 80 to 90% of the people that start using see an increase in productivity immediately by at least 20%. So we have special, like, hard data on the benefits of putting a technology that removes the need for them to know the password, the need for them to type the password every time they have to access a system, copy everything or type here with the customer and then type back into the ticketing system. All of that time-consuming factors that make a customer annoyed because the rep cannot leave the session until that ticket is closed. So they keep you either on the phone or on a session until he's done. Say, one moment, because when they close the session, that's when they get another call. So, like, you're wasting time not only from your support people, which don't really cost as much as the people they're helping, right? So those are the benefits that are not discussed as part of the security piece, but justify the investment on a tool that consolidates everything.
Mira, -10 para venir unos quesos y los vinos. Yo digo para...
Sí.
Por si querés tomar. Nosotros vamos a tomar.
Sí, exacto. Ready?
All right. My name is Joel. I only speak English, but I have a very good translator. So, and she's very smart, so I think she can almost do this demo here. So what I'm going to walk you through here is, I came from the help desk. That's where I was young, got my teeth cut. That's where I started my life in IT. I've been in IT for 15 years, and then have been in sales for another 10 years, so that puts me in the 40s, so that's kind of where I am right now. So what I'm going to do is walk through some of the use cases of support, how we can kind of increase your productivity in supporting your customers, but also increase your security posture as well in supporting those customer bases. I have a couple different demo environments here. The first one is just kind of a standalone BombGuard. Then I also have it integrated with our Vault. And then a third one I have tied into a service desk product. So we have about 15 or 20 different service desk products that we integrate with. And one of them I have is ServiceNow, but there's dozens of products that we do integrate. And then we also have an API for any type of custom work as well. So what I want to start out with here is a customer. And a customer who needs some type of help. They're calling, they need some help. And with BombGuard, we have two types of support. We either have an agent that you already have on their computer and you have instant access to the device wherever they are in the world, or you have an on-demand type approach where they either download a client or you have one pre-installed, but it's either the customer's involved or they're not involved. And with BombGuard, we can play both. Everything I'm doing is actually out of a BombGuard deployment in the States. So every once in a while it's a little bit slow, it's because it's
going home first.
It's going home. But the idea here is your support reps can be inside your network or outside. Your customers, when they travel, you can support them. They could be in a coffee shop on a horrible internet connection and you can support them. They could be in a hotel like I am this week, or none of those things matter. So the first use case is a customer who's never been supported before. And we're going to now reboot. There we go. So with BombGuard, we have a portal page, which is just a method to be able to download BombGuard. It does support multiple languages. So you can be natively in Spanish. So I'm going to try and do this in Spanish. So if I fumble a little bit. But you can have a list of people who are available for support. Typically that's your tier 1 help desk. Your tier 2 may not be visible, but they're logged in and available. You could generate a number that you give a customer. Or they fill out some type of a problem. They're having issues with, you know. So I'm going to click on my own name, just for easy, and it will download a very small client. Okay, this client is just barely bigger than a floppy, if anyone remembers the days of the little floppy disk. So, and it also does not require any form of administrative rights. So you can support a customer, and your customer doesn't have to be an admin. None of those things matter. So here we have our client that is running, and it is making then a connection to Bomgar, your deployment inside your network, not ours. We have no idea what you do with your customers. And then your support person gets notified to accept an incoming connection. So that whole process is pretty quick, even though I'm here and my deployment is elsewhere, it's a very fast connection. So the advantage here is the support staff can now see a problem. Customers never accurately describe their problems. They're colorblind. It's never a good representation. So now your tier 1 and your tier 2 help desk, your desktop support group, can seamlessly see a customer. You could allow mouse control. You could allow view only. That's up to you what type of support that you can offer. We can chat with our customers. So we can dialogue with our customers back and forth. We are adding into our product live chat translation. We're actually working with a company that does on-demand chat translation. So you could have a support person who speaks English supporting a customer who speaks Spanish, and Bomgar will seamlessly chat between the two. And, or again, there's dozens of languages that it will support. But the idea here is, again, seeing a customer screen, getting, being able to then diagnose what that problem is and resolving it. With Bomgar, we could transfer any type of files. So if there's a new version of something, this is their computer, this is mine, I can seamlessly move over, whatever I want between the two. And it can notify them, and then they may have to approve before you make a change to their system. So you're just not, taking off and working on it. Never do I want to take a customer into the registry or the command prompt. Never want them to even see that exists on their computer. I like the face. So here, I'm in the command prompt, but the customer is not. Here, I'm in the customer's registry, the customer is not. So with Bomgar, we have hooks into the operating system for removing programs, searching event viewers, editing, stopping, starting services, all the IT functions you need, but you don't want the customer to have to see.
And it's all from one location.
All from one location. So the first use case was downloading Bomgar, which is okay, not great. I don't like to have someone download Bomgar every time. You can also have a client on a customer's desktop. So it can be branded to have Bomgar logoing. In fact, the nice thing about Bomgar is we can make a lot of Bomgar look like you. It is your DNS name. It is your certificate that does all of the encryption. And we can make the landing page. You can put your logo on it. And again, not white label, but most of which customer facing is. So here, you could have had a pre-installed desktop client. They open it and they can initiate remote support, without ever downloading anything. I'm not a fan of downloading software. Hopefully they may even know not to download software. But here, same software, but it's pre-installed on their desktop or their start menu, where they could connect to a help desk. They could connect, you give them a number, no letters, just numbers, or they fill out a type of problem they're having. All of that is customizable. Okay. Questions that she can answer in Spanish? Okay. So the third type of support is when there is a pre-installed agent. So customer calls, and your customer's name is J. Patrick. That's my name. And you have tens or hundreds or thousands of computers, and you can narrow it down to just the one computer that they're logged into. Okay? All right, you get to eat, I get to talk. So here, my customer is logged into this computer right here. We give a little thumbnail of their computer. We tell how long the system's been online. And the reason I know this is my server. It has, just by its naming convention. So with a pre-installed agent, all I have to do is double click it. And if you want to, you could prompt the customer to say, do you mind if I come into your system? Now, this is a virtual desktop up in the United States, so there's no one there to allow me to come in, but I can send a control-alt-delete, log into the system. Again, this is just a virtual desktop.
And he's using his own administrative credential.
Yeah, and I'll show injection here in just a minute. So again, this idea is pre-installed BombGuard on all of your systems, and they're instantly available. But my idea is, if they're working, then let me ask before I come in. But if the system is locked, there's no one there to let me in. So we can recognize the state to allow acceptance or declining when you're connecting to their machine. These could be domain managed machines, these could be off domain machines, these could be Windows, they could be Mac, they could be Linux. The platform does not matter.
And while he's in the session, there is nobody else on the computer. He can also invite other, so he runs into a problem he doesn't know how to solve. Now he can invite somebody else in without terminating the session. And that person doesn't have to be necessarily an employee. They can be a specialist for the vendor. And they can go and invite them in to help them solve that problem. Everything they do, still recorded. Everything, their information, still goes to the ticketing system.
Or if I were on the help desk and Camilla was on tier 2 or a desktop group, I could go over here and choose invite, and I would find Camilla, and I could invite her, and now the two of us, or I could just give her the session, and I go grab the next call, or I could give it to her group. So the very, very seamless experience between your first call center and then who is that next group.
And you don't have to start a new session. The session stays open.
Or if you need to reboot their system, it will survive a reboot. Or if you need to log them off because they have no rights, we can survive that. Questions?
I think we can go to the password injection.
So let's switch. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and log in to the exact same system in a different environment. And let's grab 2 of them. I just need to close a few things real quick. Let's close. Okay. So when you go to log into a system, okay, with BombGuard we have the capability, let's log this person out. We have the capability, we'll just lock it. We have the capability of injecting credentials. So for example, with your Tier 1 help desk, I had 2 accounts. I have my regular account to log into my computer, but I have another account on the domain that may give me admin rights to the customers that I'm supporting. So when I just log in, I'm just like the end user. So one of the things that Baumgart can do is we can inject a credential into that remote endpoint. So when I go to hit Control-Alt-Delete and go to log in, and with Baumgart, my admin account is available. So we can be given different accounts. So now my admin account as a help desk, I don't necessarily have to know it. I'm allowed to use it. And we can use it in different ways. I can use it to log in, okay? I could also use it to do run as commands. So if the customer is a non-administrator, I want to do a run as. Well, Baumgart has one of these. It says run as.
That common. One more. Next one.
Yep,
That
that's
one.
it.
Okay, thank you. So here I could run, let's say, command.exe, and maybe the end user is logged in, so I use my admin account, and I could then inject that credential that I don't know, because it's a domain account. So Baumgart has been given the rights to use it, so when I injected it, I don't have to know it. So we can do UAC prompts, we can do run as, and we can inject it for logins, which is primarily the 3 use cases that a help desk person would do. And the advantage here is Baumgart Vault can also rotate a domain credential for like this. So your help desk can still have the rights to support the customers because they need that. But by changing their password, maybe on a per use or per day or interval, now that credential is a secure credential because the help desk, it's obfuscated.
Hidden.
It's hidden from. So it's just because you took away admin rights from customers very often, but you can't take it away from support people. So we're, instead of taking it away, we're hiding it, but still allowing it to be used securely.
And the sniffing tools that would be able to see something that was left behind don't get to see it because there's nothing to see. Nobody typed a password, nobody copied and pasted. So the injection, it's not traceable. So if you have somebody that is already in your network, now you lock them into one system and they cannot go anywhere. And if they cannot go anywhere, there's no way for them to take your data and push it out. All of a sudden, if you had somebody nesting, which they have a lot of time to do, now their effort is done because you protected the access and then you took away the password that could be used if it was left behind in the system. So that's the grand finale of the orchestra here.
The application have the synchronization passwords every time.
Yes.
In the application. Huh?
Yeah.
And
So
what happens is I change the password in my prompt.
so if you shouldn't be able to change the password, but like for example, so there's 2 things that happen, right? So the first one are the systems. Then there's the application to application passwords. And then there's hard-coded scripts that have passwords in them. All of them have their time and effort that are required for you to get to that state where all your passwords are changeable and rotatable. It doesn't happen overnight, right? It's a process of choosing which beast you want to slice in little pieces so you can eat it. So the password, application to application password, yes, there is. But when you have a programmatic deployment of those password changes, you need to know in which order they're used. One of the things that our vault has and a lot of other vaults have, it's like a discovery tool that finds credentials out there. The better your credential discovery software, the better you can do some of that programmatic changes of those more difficult passwords. But for the systems, for that daily use, specifically for the help desk people, change it right away after use. Now you know you do not have to share an identity anymore. You can have one identity and they don't know what they're going to be. Or you can still have your 5 ones, but you change the 5 passwords to a unique system. You can time the password change. You can have one policy that changes every 30 days, and you can have a policy that changes after every use. That is different than per system, per IP address, per type of system. So the configuration is based on your policies.
Marcelo, además si alguien la cambia en el camino, cuando la herramienta que hace la rotación falla, le avisa al administrador que esa contraseña no se puede cambiar y que la tiene que cambiar a mano. En caso de... Sale un alert.
Yeah.
You have an alert involved if somebody changes.
Correct.
And last but not least here, Baumgar also has an integration with different ITSM tools. There's 15 to 20 of them today. These are just some of the logos of some of the products that we have integrations with. The one I was going to show just for right now was just ServiceNow. It's not that I have a preference, it's just the first one I could pull up here. So the idea of initiating support out of your help desk ticket, it's using standard open APIs. So if you had a custom system that you had, all of our APIs that I'm using for this are open to be used. So one is I can generate a key. So a session key is used where you generate a key to give to your customer. You can email it to them, you can verbally give it to them, but it generated that key programmatically when I was in my service desk product. What's neat is we actually embed the incident number, the ticket number, into the generation. So at the end of our session, it will bring the reporting data back into the incident or the ticket. Pretty much all 15 or 20 of our integrations do it very, very similarly. Or if you had Baumgar pre-installed on a computer, a jump client or our agent, I have just a simple button, and it will then search for that endpoint and start a session with it, again embedding the customer's ticket number into the situation or into the session. And here's the same session we were working on earlier, different demo environment. And so now if I write any notes about what I'm doing, you know, fixing software, and, you know, ABC, anything I say, anything I do will automatically get appended to the ticket of where it started from. You transfer files, you chat with them. Baumgar also has the option of taking a video of everything that you do. So if a customer calls back 4 hours later with the same problem, we could go back and see who was the other tech, what did they do, what was the problem. You could actually play back everything that was done to try and, because I used to work at the help desk, and they would call Camilla and they would get it fixed, and then 4 hours later I would pick it up. Same problem. Well, I would troubleshoot it the same way she did. Well, I just wasted 10 minutes doing what was already done. So with Baumgar, we're able to then put that logging data,
The history.
You
have the history of that system.
back into the ticket. So if I transfer files, that gets notified. If I run a command, for example, I have a script that can, you know, install end-time malware. I could just look at like how long, like sometimes a user doesn't update their computer. You know, Windows updates happen, they ignore the restart. Well, I have a script here that tells me the uptime. Okay, customer, I rebooted this morning, and I wrote a script that will tell me how long the system has been up. Well, it's been up since 9:13 at 2:13 in the morning. So that was yesterday morning at 2 o'clock in the morning is when it restarted. So my IT group forced a reboot on me for Patch Tuesday. But it's nice, you can write these automated scripts to help the, that way the help desk, the desktop support group, everybody can have their own scripts to automate repair processes.
And normalmente los agentes están utilizando un tipo para entrar en Linux, otro tipo para entrar en Windows, otra pantalla para entrar en otro sistema. Aquí usted puede entrar en cualquier sistema. La experiencia es la misma, entonces no es más necesario tener 50 monitores, los equipos y todo esto. La información, los scripts son basados en el tipo de conexión, entonces tiene varios ajustes que se pueden hacer que disminuyen completamente el tiempo de arreglar el problema.
Perfecto.
Gracias.
Another question. What happened with the video? We are talking about that the log is a video.
Yeah.
What happened is, suppose the video have indexed by command. Suppose in the video I have some commands that the operator made. Can I see some commands in the video by indexed by directly to access?
Yeah, so he's wanting to see if the forensics piece is only on the PA, but what can you do to identify within a video a command in this type of reporting?
¿Se entiende lo que dice?
Sí, porque nosotros tenemos dos productos distintos. Remote support es el reactivo que estaba hablando. Normalmente estamos hablando de concertar un laptop o algo así. Tenemos un otro que es el privilege access, donde todo lo que se pasa en el vídeo tiene el metadatos que son forensic. Esto es normalmente cuando tiene terceras partes o cuando tiene administradores que están de fuera, que tienen que adentrar, es privilege access, no es remote support. Remote support es más para el tipo básico de esto. Se puede mirar todo el vídeo y se puede leer los detalles.
Y de acceso directo a determinados comandos, porque viste vos podés tener, decir, change password, quiero ir a change password, creo que hizo. No tengo que leer todo el video.
Correcto, si es en el privilege access. En esto aquí, usted puede mirar todo el reporte. Can you show a detailed report to show where it is?
Sure. So this is a report of a session. I just picked a random one. It says, when did I support the customer? When did it start? When did it end? How long it was for? Did I transfer any files to their computer? The chat history, the link to the video recording, I'll show that in a second. It tells what events occurred during the session.
So if somebody changed the password, would they be able to see that as an event?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because on privilege access you can search, but do you capture?
If you changed it via a Bomgar script, it would show up. If it were just a Windows Control-Delete change password, it would be in the video, but it wouldn't be a searchable index.
On remote support.
On remote support.
On privilege access.
We do grab like their inventory, like what processor do they have, what operating system, what BIOS are they running. Sometimes it grabs the customer calls and their computer's slow. Well, their memory load is at 99%, or their CPU is pegged, or they don't have any disk space left. And then here, this is, I chose to look at the video recording. So this was a 4-hour session. Hopefully your help desk doesn't support one customer for 4 hours. But the idea here is we can video camera every time an IT person supports a customer. And it's stored on the appliance for up to 90 days or less. And you can also save those for longer term storage. So it's stored in a proprietary format initially. And then if you view it, we make it into an open standard file format. So it's actually encoding it right now. I was hoping it would go a little quicker, but it's encoding it right now. The chat history of what we did, so in a minute, almost, I'll be able to literally speed it up, slow it down. Every time someone moved the mouse, typed on the keyboard, we index that. So did the rep break a customer's computer? We know that. Did the customer move the mouse, and who did exactly what? And the video is time and date stamped. And I picked a 4-hour video, so it's taking a little long. Here we go. So let's speed it up because 4 hours is too long for you guys to stay and watch. And so here, I have someone who is logging into their system. It tells me here is the time and date stamp in the video, and then as soon as there is activity, it will tell me who is doing what. So right now it's just idle, there's no activity. We can speed it up. Here we go. And it's just sitting there. It was a 4-hour session. I probably left it open during a demo. But the idea here is everything is audited with text, with video, everything you say over chat is all there. And if you tie it into a service desk ticket, it gets tied back. Or at least we have the standalone reporting.